I will be in Chicago on Saturday night, September 7th, at the Moody Church, one of the most prominent churches in the United States, speaking with its esteemed pastor, Erwin Lutzer, the senior pastor of the Moody Church. If you look up Wikipedia at Moody Church, you will see how the listing of senior pastors since 1856, I believe. It's very historic as well as huge. And Eric Metaxas, the famous Christian writer and the biographer of Dietrich Bonhoeffer, that's many other books. So the three of us will be in dialogue. Pastor Lutzer, it is a pleasure to welcome you to the Dennis Prager Show.
Dennis, I'm so glad to be on with you, and of course we're looking forward very much to your visit at Moody Church on Saturday, September 7th.
Yeah, at night we'll be meeting. And I am looking forward as well. I want to raise with you a very sensitive issue that we had a chance to briefly talk about. What was it in Tennessee? Correct?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Yes, when we met in Tennessee, and that is there a lessening of two things in evangelical Christian life in America? Is there a gradual movement away from the conservative principles that have been the bedrock of evangelical Christianity in this country? And is there, at the same time, a moving away from its strong support of Israel?
I think that the answer to both questions is yes. You know, when you talk about the moving away from evangelical principles, however, we do have to remember, as I pointed out in our discussion, that there are many people who would be thoroughgoing evangelicals who believe in the Bible, believe in the New Testament, and yet they at the same time do not support Israel like the rest of us. And the reason is because they take the prophecies of the Old Testament and they tend to spiritualize them and to say that they are fulfilled in the church. Well, I believe, of course, that we have to take them rather literally. And when God in the Old Testament made predictions about the fact that there was going to be a millennial kingdom on this earth and so forth, and that Jesus would return to the city of Jerusalem, as it says in Zechariah 14, we believe, therefore, that God has a future for the nation Israel. And that becomes very important to us, and that's why evangelicals of my particular stripe do indeed, we're strong supporters of Israel. But there are many on the other side on this who would want to be known as evangelicals.
Yes, exactly. But is that commensurate with a moving away as well from other positions that we identify with evangelicals? Or is it only on Israel that one sees this movement?
No, I think that, wow, you've raised a very interesting question. I think that what happened is this, Dennis, that during the time of the Jerry Falwells, when Jerry Falwell was out there with a moral majority, there has been such a reaction toward the politicized view of many of our issues in evangelical circles that many people have gone to the other side of the spectrum. And so as a result, they would not, for example, speak against same-sex marriage, which of course I do, but they would want to say we want to stay so far away from being labeled right-wing that oftentimes there's a great softening on some of these issues. So I think that your analysis is quite correct. I'm not sure if you can exactly tie it with the Israel issue, however, because there are people.
Yeah, go on. I'm sorry. Yep.
No,
there are
that's
some
fine.
people
But
who.
at any rate, so evangelicalism is really quite a mixture in certain areas, and I think that many churches are finding their way in different directions.
Well, I want to continue with you. I'm speaking to one of the most prominent pastors in the country, Erwin Lutzer, senior pastor at the Moody Church in Chicago. We will be together Saturday night, September 7th, with Eric Metaxas, and information is up at DennisPrager.com. Where's Dennis? But what the pastor just said should be mind-blowing, that evangelicals will not take a position on same-sex marriage. I have a theory when we come back. Hello, everybody. Dennis Prager speaking to one of the most prominent pastors and the senior pastor of one of the most prominent churches in America, the Moody Church in Chicago. I will be with him Saturday night, September 7th, along with Eric Metaxas. Should be a very, very interesting evening. Information is up at my website. We're talking about the movement of some evangelicals away from positions that have been associated with them, at least through my lifetime, with regard to both Israel and other issues. And the pastor points out, many will say, look, we don't want to be called right-wingers, so they're not even taking public positions on same-sex marriage. My response to that, Pastor Moody, is, Pastor Lutzer, I've conflated you with your church, which I guess is not so terrible. But Pastor Lutzer, I have a reaction to that, and that is that, and I see this in my own religion as well, there is greater fear of the New York Times than of God.
You know, I want to clarify one thing. Virtually all evangelicals would be opposed to same-sex marriage. They would not perform same-sex marriages in their churches. The comment that I made was they may not take a public stand on it.
Yes, well, to me that's irrelevant. Yeah, okay. Pastor, that's everything. If you're not prepared, it's even worse. If an evangelical pastor said, I believe that Christianity demands that I perform a same-sex marriage, and therefore I will do it and I will advocate it, I respect that more than the pastor who won't do it, thinks Christianity is opposed to it, but will never talk about it.
Yeah, that's really true, and it is really a crisis that we are going through. You know, Dennis, before you continue on, I want to make sure that I have an opportunity on this show to invite people to the Moody Church on that night. I'm going to be sending you the outline of the way in which I think things will go. And first of all, Dennis, you're going to be first on the program, giving us 10 minutes on the crisis of values in America. Then Eric Metaxas is going to speak on the relevance of Bonhoeffer to that crisis. And then we're going to go down and we're going to discuss many of the issues that I'm sure you talk about frequently on this show. And I might say, this is a plug for your book. I'm reading your book, Still the Best Hope. And Dennis, I have to say that I don't know of anyone who so gets into the mind of the left as you do. It has been very enlightening. So for any of the folks who are in the vicinity of Chicago, I hope that you make it a great priority to be able to come to this event, to be able to interact on the issues that we're talking about and a lot of other issues.
Thank you for the comments on the book, and thank you for, of course, hosting that evening. But I do want to get back to my point, which is a real challenge. I do believe that caring about how the New York Times describes you is for some in all of our religions more significant than how the Bible thinks of you.
I think that is true. We are so concerned about being called a name. You know, Jesus said that blessed are you when men revile you and persecute you for my name's sake. Great shall be your reward. And so what we've done in our communities, I'm sure, is so backed off. So we still hold to the truth of the gospel, but we are very hesitant to proclaim its implications. And we think that, indeed, you know, people are afraid of being called names. We're afraid of being called homophobic or Islamophobic, heaven forbid. And so as a result of that, the church is silent. And as Eric will tell us on Saturday night, I myself have written a book or two on Hitler. Where there is silence, where there is fear, there is silence. And what we need to do is to encourage people to be silent no more.
Exactly right. Well, for the rest, folks, that'll be live or among the pastor, Eric Metaxas, and myself. It's an honor to have you on my show, and I very much look forward to being with you in, 10 days.
Thank you, Dennis. I look forward to being with you. And Eric, it's going to be a great evening.
Yes, that is entirely right. Thank you again, sir. That's the senior pastor, one of the most historic and distinguished and largest churches in the country, Pastor Erwin Lutzer, senior pastor at the Moody Church in Chicago.